Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Move to Heal podcast. My name is Allie Hirschman.
I'm Colleen Delaney.
And I'm Ethan Hirschman.
And we are the co-founders of Move to Heal. And we are so excited to welcome Joe Burchfield to our podcast today and have him share his story with all of us. Joe runs the Wednesday support meetings at CrossFit 401 in Rhode Island, which is one of our largest Move to Heal locations, hosting over 140 people per week at their meetings and their workouts. Joe, welcome to the Move to Heal podcast.
It's great to be here.
Joe.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here, Joe.
So excited.
So, Joe, we're going to kind of kick this off, and just wanted to say how glad that you're here today, and how happy we are to have you, and glad you took the trip down. So really, the best way I think for us to kind of get started and open up is just to give us a little bit of background on your story and a little bit about your path in recovery and that sort of thing, and a little bit of a backstory maybe before that too. So why don't we start with that, and then that'll spark a bunch of questions and talk and discussion. I think we go from there.
Okay. So, first of all, I feel blessed, and I thank God for the position that I'm in right now. Back in 2010, I was an up-and-coming politician in Rhode Island, and I solicited and accepted a bribe. And with that said, I was also at the time a functioning alcoholic and addict. What I did was 150% wrong. I was involved in something that embarrassed not only myself, my family, and the people of my hometown in North Providence, but it probably was extremely significant for me to be where I am today. So I solicited and accepted a bribe. I was under investigation or surveillance for a couple of years, and I was convicted, and I ended up going away to prison for 3.5 years down in Cumberland, Maryland. About a year before I went to prison, after I got arrested, I was spiraling downhill really bad. My addiction to opiates, my heavy drinking, and there was about, by the time from when I got arrested, about a month later, I finally broke down and decided that I needed to go for help. It wasn't working anymore, and I needed help, and I couldn't do this anymore. It just wasn't working, and I was failing at so much, and I was on my way to prison. So I went away to Butler Hospital, and I went through a detox. I was there for about a week or so, and when I got out, I dove right into 12-step meetings, did 90 and 90, and I was on fire for my recovery. And I was sober 11 months before I went to prison, except I was still being prescribed Suboxone, which I don't know if we have time to get into all of that, but that was something that really devastated my life while I was on Suboxone.
And that's to keep you from craving opioids.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So I was sober 11 months, but I was still being prescribed the Suboxone. I went to prison, and I was told by many people that it was going to be really difficult to get off the Suboxone. I met with the psychiatrist when I got to prison, and she told me that they were going to wean me off of it. She was going on vacation for 4th of July weekend, I remember. She said, if anything happens to you or you need me for anything, I'm going to be on vacation, but just come to my office and tell them that you're one of my special ones. So they took me off the Suboxone while she was gone, and it was cold turkey, and I had 5 sleepless days and nights, and I'm not exaggerating, 5 sleepless days and nights. And I went to her office, and I had it was a confrontational situation with the gentleman that was running the show in her office. And I said, well, the doctor said for me to come here if I was having a problem, that I was one of her special ones. He said, no one's special, get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
And I left, and then that night, I used to like to take warm showers because it made me comfortable, but I had restless legs so bad when I would lay down. So I took a hot shower. I came out of the shower, and there were these cinder block walls, and I started smashing my head up against the cinder block walls. And I remember pointing to the left side of my forehead, and I said, if I hit that spot, the pain will be equal all the way across. I need to hit that spot the next time I hit my head. That was the reasoning that I was having. So needless to say, there was a guy there by the name of Bernie Carrick. He was the police commissioner in New York City. He got in some trouble when he was involved down there, and he was serving time with me, but he ended up going to get a guard, and they ended up putting me, they thought I was trying to kill myself. I ended up in the hospital. They induced me in a coma. I don't know how long I was in a coma for, but when I got out, I knew I was hungry, and I was shackled to the bed, and they fed me, and I went back to the prison. It was a prison camp in Cumberland, Maryland. I had 2 black eyes from banging my forehead and the blood rushing down, and from that point on, my life seemed to get better.
Wow.
The beginning of prison was very challenging, but it got better and better. And at that time, I also, soon thereafter, met some guys who were doing CrossFit in the yard. And I was 50 pounds overweight, and everything was stiff. I couldn't do an air squat. And I learned about carbs, protein, and fat while I was in prison. And I lost 50 pounds. My first workout had something to do with deadlifts and burpees, and I actually fainted in the yard. And when I woke up, the guy, Drew Palmer, he owns a CrossFit gym in Las Vegas now. I owe him so much, along with so many other people that I met while I was away. But he's a dear friend. He helped change my life for the better. I also started meetings while I was in prison. There were no meetings there. So I ended up losing 50 pounds. I was on fire for CrossFit, on fire for my sobriety. We helped as many people as we could with sobriety and CrossFit while we were in prison. We weren't supposed to be doing it at the time, and now I'm happy to say that CrossFit is a really big thing in a lot of prisons throughout the country. And when I got out, I couldn't wait to start to compete. And I started competing for my age group, and things are starting to slow down. My knees aren't cooperating with me lately, but
I hear that.
But it's the move to heal situation has been a big part of my sobriety. Meaning, working out has been a big part of my sobriety. Along with therapy that I also started before I went to prison. My therapist recently retired, so I know that Move to Heal offers therapy, and we have a couple of great therapists up there that I hope to start to see soon. So
That's awesome.
that's kind of the short
Talk
story.
about turning a negative into a positive.
Totally.
It's like while you're there, you're like, let me make the best of this and really change my life and really begin to heal.
There was a point where, I'm fortunate to have a really close knit family. So, when I went away, my parents would send me money where I would be able to spend in the canteen to buy certain things and stuff. And a lot of people aren't as fortunate, but in the beginning, it was all about food, buying the candy and eating the pasta and, the feel-good food. And that's what I thought that I was going to do, just try to, feed myself all this junk stuff. And then one day I saw these guys working out, doing like buddy carries in prison. And I'm like, everybody was making fun of them. Like, you know, you're in an all male prison and like guys are carrying each other on each other's back. Like, how stupid. And then I'm like, wow, this one guy that came in, he had a beer belly, and in like 3 months he had a 6-pack, and it was crazy. And I'm like, I need that. I need to leave this place better than I came. So yeah, it was inspiring that I was able to realize that I wanted to leave there better than I came in, because I know someone just texted me last week that they really looked up to me, because, you know, I've been home now almost 10 years, and I pretty much stayed focused on becoming a better person each and every day.
Yeah.
You know,
I love
that
that.
one day at a time, this type of situation. Some days are easier than others, but that's...
Yeah.
I think
and you
that's
go
amazing.
into, like, you know, you went into prison, and while you were there, you worked on your spirituality, your mental, physical, and that's really what Move to Heal is about.
It's all
You know,
about.
attacking all three of those.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're in prison, you have a lot of time to think. And I'm like, all right, what am I going to do when I get out? You know, it's certainly not going to be politics. So,
Yeah, right.
so, you know, I start thinking of different things. And you know, Ethan, I know you're in recovery a long time, and I know you help a lot of people. And you know, my parents brought me and my brothers up to give back. And, you know, 12-step work is, you know, 12-step is about giving back and helping others. So I wanted to try to find something for the longest time to be able to do that and incorporate that with working out. And if I can segue into the next thing, is my buddy Pat, who's in recovery. I know he doesn't mind me saying that. He's friends with someone on your board, I believe.
That's
Cam.
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 That's how we got connected
Cam.
with
Yeah.
401.
So, you know, Pat told me about it, and then when you guys came up for the first meeting, I met Cam, I met all of you, and Ethan and I
Partnered together
that night, and I was supposed to answer a bunch of questions about, I don't know, your favorite dog, what you do for work, this, that, and the other thing.
It was the funniest thing. You know, where Ray had put on these sort of icebreakers for the partners, right? To kind of get to know each other during the workout. And one of them was like, you know, tell your favorite pet's name. And we had 2 minutes, you know, and Joe in 2 minutes told me the whole story he just told you.
Wow.
And at the end I go, so what's your pet's name?
I love that.
I made a promise to God that I was going to continue telling my story, and I don't care about my anonymity or not, because if I can just help one person, I know it'll make a difference. And that's what you know, when Pat and Cam and introduced the program Move to Heal to our gym, it was like, wow, this is what I wanted to do. So me being a part of it, and then you guys asked me to run the meetings, and we started running the meetings on Wednesdays, and it just got too busy. I mean, we went from the smaller room to the bigger room, and now we had to add another day, so we do it on Saturday mornings too. Shayna runs Saturday.
Because you're having, like,
So
upwards
many
of 70 people at a
60,
meeting.
70
Incredible.
people showing up. Yeah.
It's truly amazing, and there's so many repeats, and you know, it's unfortunate because there are a lot of people you still get close to. It's like going to meetings and helping people, you know, in 12-step meetings, you get, but just some people don't get it. But you know, I try not to let that deject me or bring me down, because there are so many people that are coming back and helping, and our community is so close. It's so cool. Julie's the therapist up there. Everybody loves her.
She's great.
Yeah. The whole
incredible.
experience. It's an experience going to a 401 meeting because it's a really big meeting. But just because it's big, it's still so intimate because you do such an amazing job of running the meetings, and Shayna as well. And when I go, every single time I see the same people, and I see how far they've come in their like healing journey, which is the most amazing part of my job. You know, seeing people get better and become better versions of themselves. And it's really, you inspire everybody there, and your story, because you're so vulnerable and you share the bad parts, it allows other people to open up about their stuff and not feel so alone.
That's what I've learned. You know, if I speak from the heart and tell my story, you know, what I did and what I've been through, I usually get people to tell me what's going on with them, because without that, it's very difficult to get people, you know, to tell you what's going on in their lives. But I appreciate the compliments towards me, but we have a really cool team. You know, Shayna running the Saturday meetings, Colleen running the workouts on Saturdays. Jen and Ray are just amazing on what they do for the whole community, what they bring to the table. We all bring something different, and it works. It's just it's just a cool experience. And if you haven't been, you need to just stop by.
Yeah.
And some people are afraid to come and work out. Like, I haven't worked out in years, or I can't. And it's, you know, everything's scalable. Everything's scalable. So it doesn't matter if you haven't worked out in years or never worked out before. And, you know, a woman came Wednesday night, and you could tell that she was nervous and scared. And Ray taught a really advanced movement Wednesday night, Turkish get-ups. And it's tough, and it was her first time, and we were like, it's okay, we could just do a burpee, fall on the ground and get up, and try to get up.
Yeah.
And we were helping her, you know what I mean? But what's really cool is, besides the move part, the working out part, is we have a really eclectic clientele or group of people, you know, nurses, doctors,
I could attest to that,
police, firemen, housewives,
very diverse.
laborers.
Yeah.
Very diverse.
Wow.
You guys are
homeless
very
people.
family-like, and that is why your location is so successful, because someone could come in and there could be a movement like that, but you are all so welcoming, and you all gravitate towards the new people to help them. Not just the coaches. The coaches do that, but you guys do as
but
well,
then the
and that is
participants,
huge. And that's why we partner with gyms with existing communities, for that exact reason.
It's important. It's important. It's a wonderful experience. It's tough to get through the door for the first time, but we all do a pretty good job with welcoming people and trying to get them to come back, because I think we all, even if there are certain people that belong to our gym, didn't have this opinion going into it, once they start coming on a regular basis, the energy, like, you see that it works.
Yeah.
It
Right.
works.
Yeah.
This whole Move to Heal thing works. So if you give it a chance and put your heart and soul into it, you're going to change. You're going to see a difference in yourself.
Yeah, we've seen that with people that just come to support another family member at a meeting, and then they come again, and then all of a sudden they're coming all the time, and it's like they didn't realize how helpful it was to them. You know, some people don't even realize they have problems until they get there and they listen to people and like, oh my God, this person's talking about something I would never even expose to anybody.
Well, I'll enlighten you all on something. My daughter started coming. My daughter, who's here today, my daughter Eva, came to support me for this. She was coming. She was suffering from some anxiety, and now she doesn't mind me saying it. Last summer, so I invited her to the meetings and the workouts, and she was coming with me. And I said to my wife, "You should come to support Eva and I at these meetings." So she's like, okay, I'll come. And now my wife hasn't missed a meeting in well over a year, and they call her the mom and me the pop.
Yeah.
And
How has that helped your dynamic, like with the three of you in the meetings?
not only the meetings, but I see a difference in my marriage. My wife and I, we've always had, you know, my wife is just so loyal and such an amazing. She's an amazing woman, and she's stuck with me through a lot of difficulty and a lot of tough times. But I believe that our relationship has even grown, and I owe a lot of it to Move to Heal, to our relationship, and I'm very proud of my daughter. But I miss her because she's at school. So when she does come home, she came Wednesday night, and she'll probably come next Wednesday night to Move to Heal. But I miss her. I miss her in the meetings because it's so cool, and everybody notices. Like it's like, my wife will be sharing about something about how she loves the community, and I'm like, well, what about me? Do you love me? And everyone will laugh, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, the
you guys are
dynamics
amazing.
really cool.
And Issa, too, when we had the photo shoot at 401, she spoke and, talked about her journey with, alongside you and what she went through. And she just has such a positive outlook on life. And it was really inspiring to hear what she had to say.
I love that. And Joe, I wanted to ask you, because I know a lot of people right now are listening that have a family member that's either in recovery or active addiction right now. What do you feel you needed the most when you were either actively using, and you said a functioning alcoholic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, what did that look like? Like functioning alcoholic, like you're working, you're in politics, all of that. How did you know that you had an issue at that time?
I haven't shared this with a lot of people, but
Well, now you're going to share it with a lot.
my primary care physician, who I've been seeing for probably over 25, maybe 30 years, I went for a physical. I go for a physical every year. I went for a physical, and while I'm in an appointment, I said to him that I was taking Vicodin for recreational use. Mm-hmm. That was the beginning of my recovery. This was a couple of years before I got arrested.
Okay.
I admitted to him that I had a problem. I didn't say it was a problem. I just admitted to him that I was using it. But why else would I have said that? Because I knew
it was part of you that wanted help,
right?
And you didn't even know it,
right?
Wow.
Yeah. And he hooked me up with therapists and stuff, and I tried it, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, and I remember going to a therapist, and I'd be going drinking before I went to the meeting. Mm-hmm. It gives me chills just saying that, but like I said, my life is pretty much an open book. So that was what it kind of looked like. So in other words, I was to get by the days, I was eating pills of Vicodin and whatever Percocets or in advance to Oxycontin. Mm-hmm. And, we didn't keep liquor in the house. But I needed the pills close by. And I didn't realize I was just trying to mask the pain and get away from the pain. And I can't tell you what the pain was, but whether it was, I suffered from anxiety and depression. And now I have so many different tools that I've learned in recovery. Mm-hmm. And working out and Move to Heal is part of, and I tell that to people, like, when this morning I went to an AA meeting, and they announce, or are they any announcements, and I share about Move to Heal, and I said it's another opportunity for you to put more tools in your tool belt.
Right.
But getting back to, I remember I was the town council president. I remember running meetings, and I was drunk and high, and not many people, no one really knew, because I wasn't sloppy. I got sloppy at the end, no doubt. Mm-hmm. That last month that I told you about earlier, it got really sloppy for me. But for a long time, I was able to operate on a daily basis, and I was drinking or high, a combination of both. So, there are people out there that don't even realize or they're ashamed to. The stigma's changing a lot.
Yeah,
it's changing a lot, and a lot more people are looking for help or trying to get help, or they don't know where to begin. And I on social media, I'm always letting people know that I'm available, or try to point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
it's not like
Yeah.
I can help everybody. There are some people who come to Move to Heal that I can get a good grasp that this is not going to be the only thing that they need. They need professional help.
Yeah.
Sure.
And there's those people out there, and I can't help those people.
Right.
I can assist them as best I can, but they need professional help. So that's what I hope I answered your question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
So-
So, speaking of that, just a
go
segue,
ahead,
or
go ahead.
just a second question. In terms of family support, what was it that you really needed when you started recovery, when you got sober? What was the most helpful thing, from family, friends?
I know not everybody has what I have, and I actually feel for those people, because I'm really truly blessed in this department. But starting with my wife and my daughter, supporting, but my mom, my dad, my brothers, their spouses and children have all been extremely supportive in my recovery, from the beginning up until now. They'll come to meetings with me if I ask them to come.
Yeah.
And especially when I celebrate another anniversary or something like that. I had my dad come to a Move to Heal meeting and speak.
Oh, that's
they loved
amazing.
it.
Yeah.
That's great.
And he was just coming to support me,
Yeah.
and my dad likes the spotlight at times, but he's so damn proud of me, and both my brothers are too, and it's I'm lucky. I'm really lucky to be able to have them in my life. They come to me for advice now. It wasn't always like that. They call and ask certain questions about different things, and I'm blessed. And I the reason why we keep going to meetings is because we need the reminders on why we should keep going to meetings, because there are people who stop going to meetings, and I don't ever want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be that person, because I like to keep it fresh. I like to see to continue on with my sobriety, and I know it's one day at a time, but I try to get to at least, besides Move to Heal, try to get to at least one 12-step meeting a week. So
Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
so
So-
interesting because when we interviewed E, I asked him that question. He's almost 30 years sober. I'm like, and you still go to all these meetings, and that was the exact answer that he gave too.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's
because
really
we
interesting.
learned from others.
Yeah.
And
Part of the disease is to forget.
Someone said it this morning at the meeting that they didn't like the term "stick with the winners," and what they said, I never heard anyone explain it that way, because everyone who shows up to a meeting is a winner.
Yeah.
And it really made me think twice about that, because I always was one to stick with the winners. But everyone that shows up to the meeting is a winner, because it's tough enough to get to a meeting, to stay sober for one day. But I've gravitated to and I've listened to people who were successful in their sobriety, and that's what I think that means. Stick with the winners. Like, listen to the people who have some long-term sobriety, who are smiling, who are helping others, who are getting by each day as best as possible.
Yeah. You've
that.
truly mastered turning your pain into power.
For sure.
And I think that is the message that you rely to everyone at CrossFit 401 to empower them. And everything that you've been through has like brought you to this present moment and made you who you are. And now you can spread that light with everyone.
I appreciate you saying that. And it's, I don't like to be held up here because I know that I could be knocked down. There are people, again, going to meetings that you hear 10-year sobriety, 20-year sobriety, and they go out and next thing you know, something bad happens to them. So, I try to keep it one day at a time. And they're not all good days.
Yeah.
They're not all good moments. They're not all good days.
Yeah.
And
We all have clay feet.
But you inspire me. I see you in the meeting. So I hope you recognize that you really are changing lives and helping so many people.
Thank you, Colin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, Joe. You've done a lot. I do want to go back to. I hadn't heard your story in that detail before, and just curious about, you got arrested and then you hit your bottom, right? And you got clean, if I got that right.
Yes.
And then you had another bottom in jail, basically. And
Yeah.
it might have been a physical, might have been emotional and physical.
Yeah.
But I'd like to, between, those two instances, if you could describe a little bit about, because there's people listening that are right there right now. Maybe not in prison, maybe not, in the exact same physical situation that you were in, but they're in that emotional situation. And I want you to talk a little bit about that first leap after getting arrested, like what that was like, and then what actually was going on emotionally when you were in jail and you were smashing your head against the wall. Because to me, that sounds like, I hit bottom, and then there might have been a little bit of a trap door.
So
Even in sobriety.
let's talk about. Remind me to tell you about the prison, just in case I get sidetracked. But before I went to prison, I resigned from all my jobs that I had, and a cousin of mine offered me a position to help him out at his office, and I was working there. And a buddy of mine came by to visit, and was talking to me, and the conversation wasn't going so well. So I left work, and I went drinking, and I had to pick up my daughter from school. And at the time, she was, I believe, 7 years old. And I picked her up, and it wasn't my proudest moment, but I was drunk, and I spoke to my wife on the phone, and we were going to my parents' house. And the next thing I know, my brother Jimmy showed up, my older brother, and it was just him, and he had everyone else leave, and we had a one-on-one, and that's when I felt as though I was at the lowest point of my life, and I surrendered. I just couldn't go on. It was such a job to try to figure out being dope sick or hungover or every day on how to put on this face of trying to get by. And I'll never forget my brother. I was crying, and he didn't know I was drunk, and he hugged me when I told him that I was ready to go to the hospital, to go to Butler to get help. And he said, up until that moment, until I started crying, he didn't know I was drunk, because he said when I started crying, my tears smelled of vodka. And
that's a tell.
It was at that point. That was another changing moment in my life. And once I got to prison, they put me in an area where they brought me to my bunk, and there was no mattress there for me. So I was there was a room with 6 guys in it, three bunk beds. And I had no mattress, and my father is been all over the world, and is a very diverse individual. Came from nothing, and really made something for himself. And he taught me and my brothers as most as possible. Introduced us to such an eclectic group of people, from inner city to the highest business people in the world. And I was with 5 guys in a room of, inner city Baltimore guys, and here I am, this white collar guy, and I was scared. I was scared, and at the time, my dad promotes boxing, and at the time, his fights always used to be on ESPN. I used to do the ring announcing on ESPN with him until I got in trouble, and when I started being able to prove myself to these guys was when the fights were on, and my dad is promoting the fights, and that earned me a little bit credibility. And then once I started getting into CrossFit and losing the weight and everything, playing all different kind of sports, it got easier and easier. And I was friends with everybody because I was there for a while compared to a lot of others that were at that particular facility, because they offered a program called RDAP, where you can get time off of your sentence if you participated in a drug and alcohol program. Because you don't get time off in the feds, but that, and it was well documented that I was struggling. But reeling back to the second part of your question, was, boy, the night that I was hitting my head, I ended up. Dr. Madison was the psychiatrist there, and she interviewed me for this RDAC program like a year and a half after I was already there. So when I interviewed her, she had an intern with her, and she said, "Burchfield, tell your story to the intern." And I told her a brief version of my story, and she said, "Pull out your ID card." And the ID card was before I lost the 50 pounds and before I shaved my head and stuff. And it didn't look like me. They actually, after that meeting, they had me go get a new picture. But I told my story at that time, and she said to me that... the psychiatrist said to the intern and to me, "Yeah, we don't allow anybody to come in who's detoxing. We don't allow them to come into the prison anymore the way that we treated Burchfield." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Yeah." She says, we use you as an example around here. We don't want another Burchfield on our hands." And she described to me that she wanted to treat me one way to detox me off the Suboxone, but her superiors told her that no, we had to do it this way, and this way was cold turkey, and where she wanted to I guess wean me off another way, and she said we had to induce Burchfield in a coma, and we almost lost him twice. So I didn't know. I didn't know this up until that point.
Yeah. So you're hearing that for the first time in that meeting,
right? So
oh my gosh.
I start crying, and she says that I almost died twice. Well, that's the reason why they had to induce me in the coma, from me hitting my head the way I was, and. It just inspires me now to be able to tell my story, because getting back to that person that you said earlier that isn't there yet, there's always hope.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't care what age you are, I don't care whatever, there's always hope. But you need to, you need to be persistent, and I guess luck has a lot to do with it, because the way that things happened in my life, I don't think, I regret doing what I did to the people of North Providence and to everyone else who was affected in my state, that doing what I did. But at the same time, it helped change me to the person that I am today. And it really saved my life. It truly saved my life. So I think that might have answered those two questions.
Yeah, totally. Thank you, Joe. That's really amazing. I mean, and especially the part about the hope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no matter where you are, especially if you're near or haven't hit your bottom and your life is completely upside down and miserable. And I know for me back then, the only way out I saw was jumping off the roof, and I'm so glad that I didn't do that. I'm so glad that you weren't successful with hitting your head a few more times, and ending it, because so many are. And for the people that are there, like, at that point in their life where they think there's no hope, there is hope. And here's Joe is here to prove that to us,
absolutely.
And don't ever give up.
Yeah.
Don't ever give up. But you do have to surrender.
You have to surrender, and you have to show up.
And you have to show up.
You got to show up. And that's another slogan that we use at the gym. Just show up. It's free.
Yeah.
And it's free. And that's 90% of we talked about that in our opening podcast about just, 90% is just showing up.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything.
And coming from a little bit, like a little street knowledge, a little street background, nah, it's too good to be true. Nothing's free. Nothing's free in this world. Well, no, it's not free. You need to show up.
Yeah.
If you show up,
Right.
you get free therapy, you get free nutritional counseling, and you get a free gym membership. Show up.
Yeah.
And a free community.
And
Yeah.
community, yeah.
There's so much more you get.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many groups within our group. Like there's
You could see it in the
Yeah.
meetings. Like
There's a guy group
yeah.
that we have that we text every day, and I don't know. There's 10, 15 people in the group text. There's girls that I know that have group text, and there's other group text, and who's getting together for the holidays, and who's going to movies, and who's going bowling,
Or who's going to the 5:30 class.
who's going to the 5:30 class.
Yeah.
It's so
It's awesome.
so.
Everyone holds
Yeah.
each other accountable.
Well,
That's the way it is.
That's
Yeah.
another reason why it works.
And it's so much
Yeah.
easier to do something when somebody else calls you and says, "Hey, why don't you meet me at the gym?"
Yeah.
So I've
for
been doing some
sure.
rehabbing for my knees and my elbow, and we're pretty lucky. We have a physical therapist that rents space in the gym. So I've been seeing him, and I've been doing some workouts by myself. And I'm like, I miss the community. I miss the
Yeah,
community.
yeah.
It's hard.
It
It's
is.
hard.
Yeah.
So we have an agreement. I do. I can do the group classes like twice a week, and the rest I have to do on my own. So, but
Amazing.
So, Joe, do you have anything else you'd like to say before we wrap things up?
I appreciate you guys inviting me to be on the podcast. Move to Heal is such an amazing opportunity for anyone out there that is struggling with any mental health situation. It doesn't have to just be an addiction. It doesn't have to be an addiction at all. There's probably close to half our members. I don't know what the numbers are, but I would bet it's close to half the members that don't necessarily have a problem with drinking or drugging. It's, anxiety, depression, PTSD. We have, like I said earlier, we have firemen, policemen, emergency room nurses
Yeah.
that just see stuff on school teachers that it's so tough to be a
Life
school
is
teacher
hard.
nowadays.
Yeah,
Life is
tough.
hard. So everybody
Life
needs
is hard.
support.
So to go for therapy is getting a little bit easier now, socially accepted, et cetera, et cetera,
Yeah,
et cetera.
absolutely.
But this program helps, and I really encourage you to bring a friend if you're already going, or if you haven't come yet, just give it a try.
Yeah. Aw,
Thanks,
thank you
Joe.
so much, Joe.
Love that.
Thanks for
Yeah,
being
that
here.
was so incredible, so inspiring. I'll say when we were talking about the podcast and guests, you were like one
Yeah,
of
you
our
were at the
top
top of the
people
list.
that
Yeah.
we needed to get on here, and just so appreciate you taking the time to come down for this today. If you guys have any questions, please visit us at www.movetohealct.org or info@movetohealct.org, on Instagram @movetoheal.ct. My name is Allie Hirschman,
I'm Colleen Delaney.
I'm Ethan Hirschman.
and thank you so much for listening in today. Joe, thank you so much. We so appreciate you. We'll catch you guys next time.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.